Thank you for joining us today. My name is Amber Watson. I'm the Director of Academic Advising here at the College of Science. And joining me today is Dr. Ronnie Porter, who is the Director of our co-op program. And moderating our question and answer session at the end will be Nicole Bursey, who is an academic advisor. So I wanted to get to a few little housekeeping things before we start the presentation. The first one is I'm working from home, like many of you probably have or are currently doing. And I have sent my husband and child and 2 dogs outside, but there is no promise that they will remain there for an hour. So I apologize in advance for any interruptions. I will hope that they stay at a minimum. We will be talking today about the students' time at Northeastern and fall course scheduling. We won't be talking about what will happen in fall as far as being on campus or online. We don't have any information to share that isn't already available publicly through our COVID News at Northeastern site. So we won't be answering questions or really addressing fall semester in that way through this presentation. And then finally, we will have time for question and answers at the end. If you have a question, you can type it into the question and answer chat at any point. You may or may not see your question go public, but that doesn't mean that we didn't see it. We see all questions that students ask. At the very end, Nicole will compile them and ask those questions which are relevant for the entire audience, and anything that needs a more specific answer, we will get that information to you. So we're going to get started. So here's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about our academic programs and curriculum flexibility. We're going to talk about our academic advising team and the support services that are available to students at Northeastern. We're going to talk to you about the co-op program. Dr. Porter is going to come on in a little bit and talk to you about our co-op program. And again, we'll have a question and answer session, so please feel free to type your questions in at any point. So here at Northeastern in the College of Science, these are our 15 single majors that we offer in the College of Science. And so many of you have applied to one of these majors that you see on your screen. That means if you're a biochemistry student, you're going to be taking bio classes, some chemistry classes, and some other university requirements to get to your degree. We also have something called a combined major. So some students in the audience may have already come in with this combined major choice, but for those of you that didn't know what that is, I just want to explain a little bit. A combined major is one degree that covers 2 disciplines. And so we have some within the College of Science. Mathematics and physics is an example. We have biology and mathematics. And that is where the 2 departments have looked at their single degrees and decided where they could combine the 2 degrees into one single degree that would take the same amount of time. You can have a combined major with other colleges at Northeastern as well. So some of our most popular combined majors are mathematics and business administration, or psychology and business administration. Those are our 2 fastest growing combined majors. We also have things that you maybe wouldn't have thought about before, like physics and music as an example. And so they're a great way for a student to get knowledge in both disciplines that doesn't take an additional amount of time. Some students may want a double major. The difference between a double major and a combined major is, for a double major, a student would do the entire set of requirements for each major, and they would graduate with 2 majors. So in other words, you could be a biology and a physics, a double major with biology and physics, but that would mean you would do the entire biology curriculum and the entire physics curriculum. It is often the case that those double majors take longer than 8 semesters, which is our typical time to graduation. And so while students can do it and some work better than others, a good number of our students either stick to a single major with a minor or do a combined major, which combines 2 disciplines. So here at Northeastern, every single student needs a minimum of 128 credits to graduate, and some of our degree requirements go up as high as 136 credits. The reason for the difference there is not because the students that need 136 credits take more classes. It's because they have labs associated with their program. So for instance, a biology student is going to graduate with 136 credits because they have a set of labs that they are required to do that work with their courses. Whereas maybe a psychology student only needs 128 credits to graduate because they don't do lab courses that are attached to their single courses. So within that 128 umbrella, it's divided, we kind of think of it as in 3 parts. Students would do hold on, I'm so sorry, Carter, you need to go. You can't see me, but sorry. Students would do major courses. So that means if you're a math student, you're going to do some math courses. It also means that you'll do some supplemental courses that offer depth in your major. So what I mean is if you're a biology student, you are still going to do chemistry, calculus, physics, because those kinds of subjects support your main subject in biology. So that's what we kind of put in the major course umbrella. You will do your new path classes. So if you have already done the survey, you would have seen and interacted with some of our new path categories. But essentially, new path classes are our general education or common core curriculum. And what that means is it's a set of categories that every student at Northeastern needs to take to graduate. So there are things like difference and diversity, interpreting cultures, ethical reasoning. And each major at Northeastern meets a different subset of these requirements. And so you'll choose new path classes, but what a biology major chooses for new path might look different than what a psychology major chooses for new path. So that'll be a piece of your 128. And then finally, all of our majors have room for general electives. General electives are free courses that you get to take, free as in free choice courses that you get to take that help you get to that 128 to 136 number. This is often where students will do a minor. Minors are generally 4 to 6 classes. And so the general electives are often filled by students working towards a minor. So you might have a biology major and you might do an art minor. And so you'll do maybe 5 art classes that will get you to graduation and give you a minor. I do like to point out that transfer credit, challenge exam credit, AP or IB credit can be used for any of these categories. And in fact, these categories can overlap. Courses can count for more than one category on your record. At Northeastern, students take 16 credits or more to be full-time. All of our classes are 4 credits each, and then the ones that need labs, those are an additional 1 credit. So a typical semester for a student is 16 to 19 credits. And that's 4 4-credit courses plus any additional 1-credit labs that go along with those courses. You also, as an incoming student, whether you're a first-year student or a transfer student, will take a 1,000 course. So first-year students will take a class that is in their major. So you might take a Bio 1000 or a Math 1000 class, and our transfer students will take an INSC 1000 class. The courses, while similar to transfer and first-year students, are essentially intro to Northeastern and intro to your major courses. They're not content-based. So even if you have AP or IB or transfer credits for biology or math or physics or psychology, you'll still take this 1000 class because it's really sets you up to be successful as a student at Northeastern. We introduce you to Northeastern resources. You get connected to your classmates. So everyone will see that on their schedule when their schedules are completed. Transfer credit. We often have a lot of questions about how does transfer credit work at Northeastern. So transfer credit, bear with me a little bit because this first concept is a little bit tricky. We will take up to 32 credits of test credits. So what I mean when I say test is AP, IB, GCE, or challenge exam credits. Those will take up to 32. However, we know that students often pass more than 32 credits worth of tests. For instance, biology, the Bio AP exam is worth 10 credits if you successfully complete it. And so while you'll only get 32 credits towards your overall graduation requirements of that 128, we will let it fulfill any requirements that it would have fulfilled. So if you have 32 test credits and Physics 1 AP, you'll still get your 32 credits, but you'll also won't have to take Physics AP if it's required for your major. So I know it's a little tricky, but essentially your AP or test credits can meet the appropriate requirements, even if you only get 32 of those credits towards graduation. We'll also take 60 credits from a 2-year institution, and so those are primarily community colleges. So if you've gone to community college, you either did it as a transfer student or you did it maybe as dual enrollment in high school. We'll take up to 60 of those credits. We'll take up to 80 credits from a 4-year institution. And this is really important. As long as the institution in which you're transferring credits issues letter grades, we need a C or better for that course to transfer. If your institution only does pass-fail, then we'll take pass-fail. And the exception to that is if anyone was in classes this last semester or this summer and has gone to pass-fail due to COVID-19, we will also take any course that comes with a P grade or an S grade, a pass or satisfactory grade for the spring and summer semesters. So here at the College of Science, you're supported in a variety of ways, but one of the sort of pillars of your support is our advising team. So the first kind of advisor you're going to have is your academic advisor. That's my office, that's who I represent. If you are an incoming first-year student and you've answered your survey, then you've already started to maybe schedule an appointment or interact with your advisor in some way. So the academic advisors are really here to help students navigate their time from orientation to graduation. We help you to determine your requirements needed for graduation. We help you teach you how to schedule courses and how to navigate kind of being a student at Northeastern. We also can serve as a resource if there's something on campus that you need, but you're not exactly sure where to look. The academic advisors can point you in the right direction. The second piece of your advising pillar is the co-op advisors. I won't talk very much about that because Dr. Porter will talk to you in just a few minutes about co-op, but essentially you will have an advisor who works with you from before you go on co-op all the way until you're done with your very last co-op. They walk you through the entire process, they support you while you're on co-op, and in fact, they help you reflect when you get back from co-op. And finally, this is pretty unique to the College of Science at Northeastern, but you will have a faculty advisor. The faculty advisors are teaching faculty members in your department which your major is housed. Some of the bigger departments like biology might have more than one faculty advisor, and some of the smaller departments like linguistics would have a faculty advisor. But you would utilize the faculty advisors to really ask questions about curriculum, content, graduate school options or process. You know, the academic advisors are not scientists by trade. We often have a background in counseling, psychology, or education. And so your faculty advisors are practicing scientists in your discipline. So they are really good to ask sort of career-oriented or curriculum content-oriented kinds of questions. FERPA. So FERPA is a really important topic to talk about. I'm hoping that there are some families in this presentation as well because it's relevant, everything's relevant to both groups, but this one is particularly relevant to the families in our group. FERPA is the federal regulation that protects students' right to privacy. And when I say students' right, for FERPA purposes, it can be anyone who is attending a post-secondary institution. So in other words, if you're 17 starting college this fall, FERPA still applies to you even though you're a minor for other purposes. Essentially, FERPA says anything that is related to your student record is private and you have to waive access to specific parties. The only thing that's public information at Northeastern is whether or not you're a Northeastern student, your Northeastern student email, and then with student athletes, there's another set of information that can be shared that has to do with you being a student athlete. Outside of that, everything's protected from FERPA. So that means your course schedule, your grades, your course attendance, any content of an advising appointment, all that's protected by FERPA. You will be asked at the beginning of the fall semester, and then again at the beginning of every semester that you're enrolled at Northeastern, if you would like to waive FERPA access for 2 reasons. The first one is going to be third-party FERPA waiver. What that means, what it really boils down to, it's very narrowly defined. It means that if you choose to waive FERPA access for third parties, it means that if you are nominated or win an award that is based on your educational record, we can share that information with the public. The best example of this would be students who end up on the dean's list at the end of the semester. We publish their names on our website, and so if you've waived third-party FERPA, we can put your name on our website for your dean's list. Same thing if you won a Goldwater scholarship. If you've waived that access, we could make a news announcement, for example. What it doesn't mean is that a news organization could come and get your grades because they wanted to. So it's not that kind of waiver. The second waiver you'll be asked to input is a parental or legal guardian waiver. And what that means is if you choose to waive your FERPA access and your family member, your parents, or your legal guardians call our office, we can share information with them. That means we can share course schedules, course attendance if we have any information about that, your grades, specific content about advising appointments, not all content. And so we really encourage students to have good conversations around the expectations regarding FERPA waivers. Really talk to your family members and decide as a unit if you're going to waive this access and if not, so that everyone's on the same page. If you do waive the access and we do talk to one of your family members, we will always, always, always loop the student back in. So that may mean that we CC them on an email back from their family member. That may mean that we just drop them a quick line and say, hey, I spoke to your dad today. He was pretty concerned about your course attendance, wanted to let you know, let's come in and you should come in and let's talk about it. Whatever it is, we will always let a student know if we've talked to one of your parents. On to something slightly more fun. Hopefully you've heard about this in all of your admissions information and your admissions journey here, but I do want to point out that we have a very robust student life at Northeastern. Every single College of Science department has a club, a student club or organization, and many of them have honor societies associated with their department. So we have a biology club, a math club, a psych club. We really encourage students to get involved. Oftentimes they're run by upper class students, so it's a great way to get to know people in your major. It's also a nice way to get to know upper class students where you can ask them questions that maybe your academic advisor can't answer for you. For instance, if you ask your academic advisor if a specific faculty member is nice or mean, we probably are not going to have the answer you're looking for, but maybe your upper class student in your psych club could tell you that. So we just really encourage students to get involved. We also have a very robust pre-health system that works with students from their freshman year until they're done applying for school. They work with students who are interested in becoming an MD or a DO, a dentist, a veterinarian, a physician assistant, an optometrist, a podiatrist, and occasionally a nurse practitioner. So if you're thinking that you want to do a post-secondary medical program, we encourage you to register with the pre-health department. You can find them online if you Google pre-health Northeastern, so that you can start getting notices from them about topics of interest throughout your time. And then of course, as you get closer to applying as a student for one of those programs, that they will give you much more support and help you through the application process. I also want to talk very briefly about summer opportunities, and I'm not talking about this summer, I'm talking about next summer, which I know feels very weird because we're talking literally a year from now. But the reason why I like to bring them up is because it requires some conversation with your academic advisor in the fall semester, and we don't want students to miss out on opportunities because they haven't heard about them. So the first one is, in the fall semester, students will, which I'll talk about in a second, but students will do some academic planning with their advisor. When you're doing that academic planning, you'll have an opportunity to figure out whether or not you're going to need summer classes while you're here. And because of co-op, many students do summer classes, which Ronnie will talk about in a few minutes. So one of the things that we suggest is you could stay during your very first summer 1 term. It's called new term. And the reason we suggest that is A, there are multiple courses which are relevant to rising sophomores. And then B, there's a lot of activities that happen in new term, so for very little money. So there's trips to Six Flags and Cape Cod. There's, Red Sox games. There's a lot of stuff that happens that is really fun in addition to you being in classes in summer 1, and less of that happens in summer 2. We also like to encourage students to get involved or to consider doing a research experience in the summer. The National Science Foundation hosts a huge number of research, they're called REUs, research experiences for undergraduates. Those applications, it's all external and students would apply on their own. However, many of those deadlines are very late fall or very early spring. So it's something that you don't need to make a decision about today and you don't need to look into right this minute, but you just want it on your radar so that you don't miss an opportunity or a deadline because you didn't know about it. And then finally, some of our students, because they need summer classes, might choose to do a dialogue of civilization. These are summer study abroad opportunities where you go with a faculty member and a small cohort of students, so usually 15 to 30 students, and they're subject-based. So some of our most popular dialogues in the College of Science are, we have one that goes to Iceland where they do field work on volcanoes and glaciers. And so it's almost all field work and they're in the classroom for very little of the time. We have one that goes to London and they study abnormal psychology. So they get abnormal psychology and personality are the 2 courses they earn credit for, but they do part of their work, part of their classes take place in Freud's house, which I think is really cool and interesting. And they do a lot of studying about serial killers in the UK, which I think is also pretty interesting. We have one that went to Chile and they did a microbiology course as their first course and a professional photography course as their second course. And so they took samples and studied them in a lab at a partner institution in Chile, while also simultaneously being taught photography by a professional photographer. There are also, Italian Renaissance in Italy, French fashion in France. There are a lot of dialogues that have nothing to do with science, but they're a great way for a student to get a small taste of study abroad without committing an entire fall or spring semester to studying abroad. So here's what you can expect this summer. Please check your Northeastern email. You all should have received an email from us. It probably went to both your Northeastern email and your personal email, which outlined how to get started in the orientation process. So it gave information about our registration survey and also how to schedule an appointment with your orientation advisor. I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, please complete your survey so that we can get started working on your schedule. And after you've done your survey, please schedule an appointment with your orientation advisor whose name is in that email. During that appointment with your advisor, we will finalize your fall schedule, and that's the main goal of that that appointment, is really for us to talk and make sure that your fall schedule is ready to go and that it really sets you up to be successful moving forward. We also will host some department events later in August, which will send you information afterwards. But that'll be a way for you to get to know some faculty advisors and really learn a little bit more about the department when you're entering. So again, it's really important to check your Northeastern email because from this point forward, that's where all of our communication will go to you. Here's what you can expect this fall. You will be assigned a permanent academic advisor who will work from you from orientation to graduation. So that academic advisor will help you once you start classes in the fall, all the way until you're done at graduation. You will also have the opportunity to complete a long-term planning meeting with your advisor in the fall. So the summer appointments are really to set you up for your fall schedule. Your fall appointment is where you get to talk about 4 years versus 5 years. When do you go on co-op? How many co-ops do you want to do? Do you want to study abroad? We help each individual student complete a plan. And you can do multiple plans because we know that students are not going to just make one choice in their very first semester and stick with it the whole time they're here. So that just is the start of the planning process. And then students come back as much as they need to kind of tweak their planning. And then finally, we'll have a week of walk-ins during the first week of classes for all students. And so there won't be any appointments available, but you can walk in, whether it's virtually or physically, to ask your advisors questions about your fall schedule. And now Dr. Porter is going to talk to us about our co-op program.
Thank you. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. The co-op program at Northeastern started in 1909, so it's over 100 years old. Though it's optional, it's highly recommended and the majority of students participate. The College of Science has an experiential education requirement for graduation, and for most students, co-op is the experience of choice. It's part of the fabric of the university, and it's built into the curriculum structure, so faculty are aware that students might leave campus for a period of time while they're in co-op, and then return to the classroom with firsthand cutting-edge experience in the field, and it's a pretty seamless process. Co-op is real-world experience from start to finish, from researching employers all the way through getting hired and having an employer evaluation. Our students are doing real work. They're members of the team, and our employers really heavily depend upon them and really value their help. It's a partnership between students, co-op faculty, and employers. And I remember a student came into my office once and said, "Is this the place where they hand out the co-op jobs?" But he quickly learned that that wasn't how it worked, that we work very closely together with you, and together we work on the process each time you're ready to go out on co-op. Co-ops is typically 6 months of experience, full-time work experience, January through June or July through December. Students can gain up to 18 months of paid professional experience. You may work in world-renowned healthcare institutions. Boston is a great place to work in science and healthcare. We work with all of the major hospitals and healthcare affiliates. Some of our co-op partners include Children's Hospital, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, Brigham and Women's Hospital, Mass General Hospital, Shriners, McLean Hospital, just to name a few. We work with a number of community partners and health clinics. We work with Angel Memorial Hospital, which is a nationally known hospital for animals, a number of other animal hospitals and veterinarians. We work with the New England Aquarium, where our students are divers in the giant ocean tank and work in the penguin exhibit. And from time to time, we've had students work at Disney in science and animal care roles. We also work with major biotech and pharma companies, as well as a number of startup companies, including Sanofi, Pfizer, Vertex, Moderna, who you have probably heard about in the news recently, and many others. We work with schools, nonprofit agencies, newspapers such as the Boston Globe, and a number of insurance companies and other businesses. Students develop impressive resumes, and about 54% are offered full-time employment opportunities by co-op employers after graduation. All in all, we work with about 3,100 employers spanning 136 countries. We have a robust global co-op program, and students have been on co-op on all continents, including Antarctica. We have a special College of Science Global Co-op coordinator who works with students and employers. So when can you start? Undergraduates can participate in co-op after completing 3 academic semesters. Students alternate periods of academic study with 6-month periods of work experience in their fields of interest. Transfer students are eligible to start co-op after completing at least 1 academic semester at Northeastern. So before and after co-op, there are some activities that we find are very helpful for you. The program includes a mandatory co-op preparation course, and I'm going to talk with you a little bit about that in a minute. It also includes a real-time reflection component while you're on co-op. You will be sent a series of reflection questions, 3 during the co-op and 1 afterwards, because we want you to really think about your experience and how it integrates with your academics and your long-time career goals. And then when you come back, we have a final reflection that you can complete by participating in our co-op expo, doing a poster presentation, participating in our co-op classes and talking with underclassmen, some kind of reflection essay, a video, or a meeting. Our co-op course, during our co-op course, you'll learn a number of things. You'll learn how to write an excellent resume that will get you noticed. You'll learn how to research companies, review job descriptions, conduct informational interviews, as well as develop job interview skills. You'll practice interviewing and you'll meet one-on-one with your course instructor, and you'll work very closely with your co-op coordinator to discuss your career goals and interests. You'll learn how to do an elevator pitch, manage a career fair, and how to effectively network. We will discuss mindset, mindfulness, and motivation. These are skills not only for getting a co-op job, but you will use lifelong during your career development path. There are many resources available to you. We work very closely with our career design office and offer a multitude of workshops and events that are available to you. Just a little bit about co-op logistics. While you're on co-op, you do not pay tuition. You still maintain your full-time student status. Your loans remain in deferment. You can still live on campus if you desire. You have access to all of Northeastern's resources, including the library, the gym, the cafeterias. We also have an extensive and robust international and out-of-region co-op program. We support international experiences by having a presidential global scholarship that students can apply to if they're interested in going on international co-op. And we also have a co-op connections office that can help students with housing if they're interested in working out of the region, connect them with alumni in various geographic locations, and provide additional support while you're on co-op. Looking at a typical schedule, the slide you're looking at right now shows you a typical schedule with no co-op. For all 4 years, students would be in class for fall and spring and have their summer vacations free. If you were there for 4 years and you decided to do 2 co-ops, this is an example of what 2 fall co-ops would look like. You would be in classes for your first 4 academic semesters, and then you would begin co-op in summer 2, going through fall, returning to school in January, and that would be repeated for the next 2 years. So keep in mind that if you decided to do a spring co-op, it would be just the opposite. You would be in classes during the fall, and you would be on co-op during the spring. So we have a new course, a new option for a course option for freshmen. There is one of the new path requirements is an ethic requirement that students need to fulfill. So we have opened up a course called Values, Ethics, and Professionalism in the Sciences, and it's going to be offered to freshmen for the first time. It's a 4-credit online course. Some of the things to think about is that the average worker is projected to have an average of 10 jobs before the age of 40. And particularly for those working in science and research and healthcare, big data, energy production, the pace may change even faster. All you have to do is look at the news to see how fast scientific endeavors are changing and breakthroughs, etc. So you really need to be able to learn to develop skills to build your career in this new environment and pivot if you need to, etc. So this course is designed to help students pursuing a science education to begin developing a coherent professional identity. Students will examine ethical dilemmas in science fields in a more in-depth way, examine, articulate, defend professional values, use concurrent reflection exercises, create action steps towards reaching multiple long-term professional goals. choosing a career is kind of choosing a way of life. And again, in this fast-paced world, you may have to pivot at some points during your life. And so developing skills that are going to help you along the way, adjust and reevaluate and move forward, having this type of an experience may be really, really helpful. So just wanted to point that out. As you're working with your academic advisors, you may want to consider this as an option. So now I'd like to introduce you to Nicole Bursey, who is one of our academic advisors, who is going to handle the question and answer component of our program this afternoon.
Thank you, Ronnie and Amber. So we do have a few questions about changing majors. Perhaps a student realizes there's a combined major this summer that they would like to pursue. Should they contact their advisor before their meeting in the next few weeks?
Sure. So yes, it depends on the situation. If you are in the College of Science and you want a combined major that will keep you in the College of Science, so in other words, maybe you're a bio major and you've just discovered biology and political science, and that sounds good. What you can actually do is just go ahead and put in your student admissions portal, your change of major. Your advisor will actually be notified of your change of major, and you don't need to do anything until you have your meeting. They'll get that information ahead of time and be able to adjust your schedule accordingly. You don't have to necessarily redo the survey unless it completely changes your answers. It's really that simple. If you're not sure about a major change or you're thinking about changing to another college, then you should reach out to your orientation advisor so that they can get you pointed in the correct direction.
Amber, could you also touch upon the ease of changing majors potentially in the middle of a semester or after their first semester?
Sure. So you can change your major at any point all the way from now till you graduate, truly. We hope that you do it sooner rather than later. But once the semester starts, your schedule can only be changed really in that first week. After that, the classes you're in are what you're in. But if you maybe, let's say in end of September, beginning of October, decide you want to change your major, excuse me, you can put your major change in and it would be effective for the next semester. And then your spring semester classes would be adjusted accordingly.
Thanks, Amber. Could you also touch upon the best time to declare a minor?
Sure. So you actually won't declare a minor. Bare minimum, you can't declare a minor until the fall semester, and it won't be effective on your record until the spring. However, if you know right now that you're going to do a minor, you can talk to your advisor during your appointment. It's possible that maybe one of your elective choices will get you started in that minor. So it's good for the advisor to know, but you can't declare a minor before you matriculate. And even once you matriculate, it doesn't show up on your record in most cases until this spring, but you can take classes towards that minor starting in the fall.
All right. Could you also talk about if requirements can be met for both a major and minor with one course?
So yes, major and minor courses can overlap. There are specific minors that you cannot combine within a major. So in other words, if you're a biochemistry major, you can't minor in biology or chemistry because there's not enough difference in the courses. Same thing if you're a behavioral neuroscience major, you can't have a minor in psychology or biology because again, there's not enough difference in courses. However, if you are, let's say a math physics major, and you need physics 1 and 2 for math, if you're a math major and you want a physics minor, you could do that because there's enough physics outside of the math major that you would still properly earn the minor.
Great. Thank you, Amber. If a student was interested in doing a dialogue of civilizations, can those courses count for potentially a minor or general electives?
Yes, absolutely. You know, we have some science related dialogues, but not a lot. The majority of dialogues are actually outside of the sciences. And so more often than not, if a student does a dialogue, it's to fulfill new path, a free elective, or a minor course, or some combination of all three.
Perfect. And if a student wanted to try to graduate within 4 years without taking summer courses, and they do have AP credits, do you think that is possible?
It is possible, but not with 2 co-ops. It is not mathematically possible for a student to graduate in 4 years with 2 co-ops without summer and no transfer credits. So it can be a trade-off. It might be mathematically possible for a student to do 1 co-op and graduate in 4 years without summers, but it is not at all possible to do 2 co-ops in 4 years without summer classes and or transfer credits.
Ronnie, we do have a co-op question that came in. Could you talk to us about taking classes while on co-op? Is it possible, and is there a limit to how many classes you can take?
So most of the co-op opportunities are full-time, and the only option would be for a student to take an online class. So many times students may take a class such as advanced writing in the disciplines while they're on co-op. There is an option for a student to do a part-time co-op as long as they take a half-time load of courses. To be honest, most employers are really looking for full-time people because they set aside a co-op position, or they set aside a full-time position to be filled by 2 co-op students. So they generally need that help. So for the most part, students are working full-time, and if they take a course, it would be an online course.
Thank you, Ronnie. I have a few more questions for Amber. If a student realized that they forgot to check off something like the pre-health on their survey, should they be emailing their advisor now, or should they wait until they meet with the advisor to make any updates?
You should just wait till you meet with the advisor. We really use the surveys to get us started on your scheduling, but nothing is finalized until students meet with their advisor. And something like whether or not you're pre-health may or may not even impact your schedule for the fall. It just depends on what your major is. So it's not important enough for you to email them or recomplete a survey or anything like that. If you forgot to maybe say that you have AP for bio or chemistry or math, that might be worth telling your advisor ahead of time so that they can adjust your schedule. But short of that, anything you've made a sort of messed up on or forgot to put on your survey, it's okay. It's a resource that gets us started on your schedule, and we finalize it when you actually meet with us.
All right. And if a student wanted to complete research for their experiential learning, would they do that while they're in classes, or would that take their whole time, similar to a co-op?
So I'll answer part A of that, and then Ronnie, you can kind of talk about maybe research with a faculty member as co-op as part B to the question. So part A of that is, if you're not going to do a full co-op, which Dr. Porter can talk to you a little bit about how you could do research with a faculty member and have that be a co-op, but outside of that, you would typically do it as a course during your time at Northeastern. So you would do at least 1 4-credit course with a faculty member in their lab. The amount of hours you spend in the lab really varies. It's an individual contract between the student and the faculty member. But if you don't want to do a co-op, then you would enroll in a research course at some point. However, there is an opportunity to do research on campus through co-op, which Dr. Porter can tell us about.
Yes, several faculty members do hire students to work in their labs. So sometimes these positions are funded through the department or through grants. We also have a co-op scholarship that has been donated by Dr. Andrew Schaefer, where he funds a student to do research with a faculty member that is focused on medical research. So that is another way. Also, students can use their work study funding. If they clear for a co-op work study, they can use that type of funding to be able to do a research co-op on campus.
All right, thank you. I have another question back to Amber. Could you tell us a little bit about the new path and how many courses or credits a student may need to complete for new path?
Sure. So if you're an incoming student, I really encourage you to go back to our Blackboard page because it really thoroughly explains the new path requirements. If you're a transfer student, you can, or if you're not, you can find new path information on our website. If you just Google new path Northeastern, you can find out a lot. It's not so much credits that you need to complete for new path, it's number of requirements. And so there are 8 what we call lower level categories and then 3 upper level categories. The 3 upper level categories, one of them them is an English course that every student takes. The other two are writing intensive and capstone, and those are met by your major automatically. So really what you have to kind of pay attention to are the 8 lower level requirements. And one course can satisfy 2 of those requirements. So it could theoretically be 4 classes to meet all 8 requirements. It just really varies on each student's own choices and their record and what they bring in for transfer courses. So we don't think of it in credit terms. We think of it in requirement numbers. And technically you have 11 new path requirements to complete.
Right. Ronnie, I have a couple more co-op questions for you. Could you tell us how many credits a co-op awards?
So co-op is actually 0-based credits, but what you do receive is the notation on your transcript that you have completed certain terms of co-op. It also maintains your full-time status while you're on co-op, which enables you to again live in campus housing, use the resources, but you do not receive any academic credit for co-op.
Could you also tell us how many students usually go on the same co-op?
So that is actually open and up to the students. We're tending to see students change co-ops and do a different one for the first one and the second one. But that doesn't necessarily have to happen that way. We encourage students to really look at what they're going to be doing. What is the job description? If an employer can offer a student an advanced type of an experience, if they do return, then that certainly might make sense. So we work with students individually on making that decision, but I would have to say probably more often than not, students tend to do 2 different experiences.
Amber, we have a question in regards to AP credits for building schedules. If students don't quite yet have their scores, how can that impact their finalized schedule?
Sure. So the AP credits, we ask you on the survey, how do you, if you've taken an exam, how do you think you've done? Or if you're going to take an exam, how do you feel like you will do? And then we schedule you accordingly. What we find is that students are very accurate in how they think they've done on their exam. So in other words, if you've taken bio AP, but you haven't got your score, but you thought that was definitely, the easiest thing you've ever done, then we're going to move you forward in the next bio class. And if you get your scores back and you didn't pass the exam, then it's no big deal. You contact us and we move your schedule back to the appropriate class. Likewise, if you just think the test was the hardest thing you've ever done and you had a cold and there's no way you could pass it, we'll leave you in whatever class you should be in. And then all of a sudden you're surprised because you passed, you let us know and we'll move you forward into the next course. So really just put how you think you're going to do or how you think you did, and we'll schedule accordingly and adjust as we get closer to the fall semester once we have actual scores.
Right. And we've had some students notice a lot of first-year classes were full before they were given the opportunity to complete the survey. With a lot of classes being full, how could that affect them by the time they have their meeting with their advisor?
Sure. So let me explain a little bit about how the registration process works. For current students, they register for the fall semester in the beginning of April. So some classes you're seeing on the schedule were already filled maybe in April because upper class or sophomore or above students are in the course. And because students complete New Path the whole time, they may be taking what looks like sort of a freshman level 1000 course, but they're taking it because they've saved their New Path for their sophomore year, for instance. So some of the courses you're seeing closed have been closed for a really long time and they weren't really meant for incoming students. The other thing that happens is we pre-seed students into courses. And while as a College of Science student, you're likely pre-seeded into a biology or a chemistry or a physics course, for instance, someone in the College of Social Science and Humanities might be pre-seeded into a jazz course or a history course or a philosophy course. And so if you're seeing classes closed, it could be that the students who are required to take that course are already placed in it. What I can tell you is that every single student who needs a course to move forward in their major will be in that class in the fall. That is our goal. That is our job. That's our promise. I guarantee you. What I can't promise you is that you'll get the exact free elective or new path class you want, right? Because there are a lot of students incoming and everybody registers at different times throughout the summer. So if you're really want a music course, we may have to put you in a different kind of music course this semester. But as far as biology, chemistry, math, physics, psychology, those required courses that move you forward in your curriculum, you will be in the appropriate course before the fall semester starts. I guarantee you that's totally our job.
All right. And to piggyback off that, I got a new one asking if freshmen should be signing up for 1000 level courses.
So I'm less clear what that means, but you will be in the 1000 level. So in other words, the bio 1000, the math 1000. Your advisor will put you in the appropriate one. And when I say 1000, I mean literally the course number is 1000. You will be put in that course by your academic advisor, and you'll have a conversation about that your whole schedule when you meet with your advisor. It's okay for like if you're picking your free elective or your new path class, it's completely appropriate for students to be in a 1000 or a 2000 level course. And occasionally students will take a 3000 level course. Psychology is a really good example of that. If you have AP credit for Foundations of Psychology, then you are very likely to be in a 3000 level psychology course simply because many of the psychology courses are labeled 3000. It doesn't mean that it's not manageable for a first year student, and that may be different than someone trying to be in a biology 3000 level course because that level might not be appropriate for a first year student. So when you're picking electives and new path, I would look primarily in the 1000 and 2000 level, but truly you should pick courses that seem interesting to you, that you have the prerequisites for.
And Ronnie, we have another question about co-op. What is the average pay our students in the College of Science could see for our co-ops?
So that really depends on the field and the company, the size of the company, and the level of the student that is required. So, for example, all of our positions have at least minimum, the minimum salary requirement. But most of our biotech and pharma positions, the salary is much higher. It could be anywhere from $18 to $26 an hour. So it really greatly depends on the type of position that students apply for and the type of organization. Some employers may ask that students have completed one or two co-ops already. Many will interview students with very little experience because they know that you'll at least be coming with some basic lab skills, etc. So it's really a very wide range.
Will this presentation be posted online for a later date?
Yes, we are recording this presentation, which is lovely. You can watch me yell at my child in slow-mo if you want. Yes, we will upload this presentation after this so that if family members missed it and want to watch it, they can, or if you just want to replay something, yes, we will upload it. I believe that it will just be emailed to all the participants. We are going to upload a presentation that will sort of be online after this, but it's probably not going to be the first one. But for those that are in attendance today, I will email you a link with the recording of this presentation.
All right. Another question about AP scores. The application status check says official scores are due June 30th. The scores for this year's exam will be released mid-July. Is there a later deadline for exams taken this year?
I'm not sure what that means by later deadline than for exams taken this year, because that is what you see on the deadline, like that should be this year's deadline. And if you mean that you see that on the application status check, like through Northeastern, you can verify those dates on the AP website, on the College Board website. Unfortunately, I'm not fully understanding what this question is asking. The College Board should say when scores will be released, and then typically the university receives scores shortly after students receive them.
All right. And if a student wanted to take a psychology elective and they have passed the psych exam, would they be able to take higher level psych courses?
Yes, so this is true across the board. If you have AP for a course, or you think you're going to have AP for a course, we will let you move forward into the next section, obviously pending courses being open and available, especially when we're talking about elective choices. But yes, if you have credit for AP, IB, challenge exams, transfer credit, we want you to move forward and use your credit.
All right, thank you. And we have a few minutes left and a few more questions to get through. Let's see. What should we do if the preset classes we received are impossible to keep? For example, I have 5 minutes to get across the entirety of campus.
So you should have, no class should only have 5 minutes left, because the way that the schedule is built, every class should have 10 to 15 minutes in between. If you have 5 minutes between classes, you can speak to your academic advisor when you meet with them in your appointment. But typically 10 to 15 minutes is a very normal amount of time to have between classes. And you can get from the 2 furthest points on campus in that time. That is very, very normal. What we try to do, for instance, is leave some sort of timing for lunch, but it may be due to the number of labs and recitations and other courses that you will have some courses back to back. But certainly if it's literally 5 minutes, it's something we could change. If it's 10 to 15 minutes, that's a very normal amount of time to leave between classes.
All right, thank you. Hey, Ronnie, we have another question in regards to co-op. If a student wants to do a co-op outside of Boston, do we have anyone who would assist them in finding housing?
Yes, so that would be Co-op Connections. They assist students with finding housing outside of the Boston area.
Perfect. And if a student wanted to look up a list of our combined majors online, where would the best place be for them to find those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So every student who is attending right now should get very familiar with our catalog. That has all of our majors, all of our programs, all of the student requirements, all of our policies that govern our academics at Northeastern. So if you Google registrar at Northeastern, you can find the registrar's website. It's also just northeastern.edu/registrar. And there is right at the very top a link that will take you to the catalog. I believe that next year's catalog, which will be your entering student catalog year, has not been released, but you can at least use last year's catalog in the meantime to see all of our programs. It's broken up by college. So you would click on like College of Science, for instance, and then within the College of Science, each department is listed. And within each department, all of our programs for majors and minors are listed. You can see all of the requirements for any of our majors. And in most of our majors, you can see a generic academic plan of study. So what it would look like if you had no transfer credits, a possible path from start to finish.
And our final question is in regards to transfer credits. If a student saw a course they took is not on the equivalency database, how could they go about getting it reviewed?
Yep, so you should have a space in your admitted student portal to enter any transfer credits. There is a transfer credit portion where you can upload your syllabus for the course, and then admissions forwards that syllabus to the faculty, and the faculty evaluate your courses. If you don't see that portion in your admitted student portal, please reach out to your admissions counselor or the general admissions email to make sure that they get that into your student portal, because you should be able to see your transfer courses and be able to upload any syllabi for any courses that aren't already evaluated.
All right, and that was our final question.
Great, thank you so much, everyone. we hope this was informative and that you have a better idea of what your time at Northeastern is going to look like and what it means to be a College of Science student. Again, I want to really emphasize, please be checking your Northeastern email because that's where future communication will come. Complete the survey if you have not already done so. And this is only for first-year students, not to our transfer students. And if you're a transfer or a first-year student, please schedule an appointment with your orientation advisor so we can get your fall schedule squared away. All right, Ronnie, do you want to say any last words before we end the presentation?
No, good luck, and we look forward to seeing you in September.
All right, thank you so much.